to be, this next talk is going to be on establishing a myopia clinic in your practice. Now, no matter if you are a private practitioner or you're part of a cataract practice who doesn't do pediatric practice, I think it makes sense to have a myopia clinic in your practice. And why do I say that? You need to first answer the question that in your practice, do you need to have a myopia clinic? Now, if you see a substantial amount of kids in your clinic, and everyone is actually, because India is a young population, and if we are to be seeing probably around 30% or 40%, maybe not even 40, 30% of our population is kids. And if we are going to be having regular kids coming in, many studies say that almost 80% of the pediatric practice consists of kids who are myopic. So definitely there is a role for having myopia clinic in our practice, whether it is a pediatric ophthalmic practice or a general practice. So once you decide you need to have a myopia clinic, we need to identify what kind of patients are we going to enroll into the clinic. So it's quite obvious that myopes form the first group because they're going to be obviously a part of the group. The two other set of people that I would like to emphasize are kids with lower than average hyperopes for their age. Now, these are the so-called at-risk myopes who kind of end up developing myopia over a period of time. So we need to watch them, and that's why we need to add them. The next one is emmetropic kids with parental myopia. Now, these are kids who tend to have, they're emmetropic, but because of the high risk, they might have myopia later on, and that's why you need to enroll them in your program. So the next thing that we need to do is to profile the patient that you're going to enroll. And this is done with the help of a questionnaire. We have devised in our hospital an 8-segment questionnaire, which is based on the child's activities, based on vision, eye health of the family, child's reading habits, child's gadget habits, child's co-curricular activities, long holiday behavior like summer and winter holidays, the living environment of the child, and the eating habits of the child. Now, I hope I am able to open this sample. Yeah. So this is the questionnaire sample that we generally share with the parents. So it's a 30-point questionnaire where we kind of ask them what kind of work the child does, what's the gadget work of the child, how long do they do it on weekdays and weekends, and so on and so forth. So that's how the questionnaire is dealt with. The next thing that we do is to evaluate the child, and this is done with the proforma. We do vision checking, cyclorefraction, fundus, A-scan, and questionnaire. And this is followed by the BV evaluation, where we do a stereopsis, Würth-Fodor test, a cover test to rule out esophorias and exophorias, NPCs and NPAs, and from NPA we calculate the accommodative amplitude. We do a dynamic retinoscopy to rule out accommodation lag, and we measure accommodative facility and ACI by A ratio. Note here that we don't do the entire spectrum. We kind of do what is just required for myopia. So if you do ask me, oh, there's so many tests happening. Imagine we're doing a stereopsis test. We're doing Würth-Fodor. We're going to do NPC and NPA. We're going to do a dynamic retinoscopy. We're going to do accommodative facility. We're going to do dry eye. And on top of that, we're going to do an axial length measurement. How much time does this all take put together? Around 20 to 25 minutes extra per evaluation, which is, I think, okay, considering the fact that so many tests are being done. And with a good trained optometrist, it's quite quick and effective as well. And meanwhile, you can give the questionnaire to the parents and they're happy filling it up. In fact, sometimes they take longer than the child's evaluation. So that way it's taken care of. Now, this is a quick flow chart. I know it looks very busy. This is what we do in our clinic when a new patient comes in. When the first visit for the child, if it's a new child who's being diagnosed newly, the first day will be the complete eye evaluation with the cycloplegic refraction in order to diagnose the myopia. Once the myopia is diagnosed, they come back for a second visit on the second day, on a week after, where they get to do the myopia workup, where the questionnaire, the BV evaluation, the dry eye, and the axial length is measured. And based on these readings, then the final recommendations of whatever we're going to do is given to the patient. How about a review or a follow-up patient? Now, if it's a follow-up patient, I do the myopia workup immediately on coming along with the vision refraction, and then we do the dilatation fundus and the axial length, and then go on to the final recommendation. So all of this is done in one visit for a follow-up patient. So this makes it easier for in follow-up visits. So once we have all this data of axial length and BV evaluation, dry and all of that put together, what do we do? So it's very important to customize myopia control for each patient. So based on the age, the questionnaire, the progression of cycloplegic refraction, the correlation with the axial length, and the binocular vision assessment, we give our final recommendations. So we'll go through this in a series of cases, and we'll figure out how we go about it. So this is patient A, who was a 4-year-old child who had a history of parental myopia. He was a bookworm and he spent less than half an hour of outdoor day. His cycloplegic refraction was plus 0.5 and his axial length was normal for age, and he had a BV assessment which showed an accommodative lag. Now you can see here the red flags are all up. He's a young kid with a less than average hyperopia with parental myopia, and he's a near work person along with an accommodative lag. Now this would fit into a perfect category of a pre-myope. So for this patient, the main focus would be on lifestyle advice, because this is where the prevention comes in. So we give them outdoors, we give them, ask them to restrict near work, visual hygiene, vision therapy if required, and observe the child 6 monthly. We are yet to give them any treatment per se. This is patient B, who's an 8-year-old boy who had no parental myopia. He had outdoors of 1 hour a day, not much, but increased screen time. And when we say cycloplegic refraction was 0.75 diopters, his axial length was appropriately increased and his BV assessment was normal. Now here again, you do see that he's not a guy with any genetic background. He's probably only the cause is this lifestyle change that has led to this cycloplegic refraction. And this would be under a category of a new myope. So for such a patient, you would give glasses for constant wear, of course, give them the lifestyle advice that we usually give them, and then observe him 6 monthly. Now, this is a patient C, who's 10 years. She's no parental myopia, extremely demanding schoolwork because they want, to excel in studies, and less access to outdoors. Here again, you see that this patient has been on follow-up with me, and he comes in 6 months later with a progression of -1 diopter. Now, that's a huge jump, especially after online classes. And there is a corresponding increase in the axial length with no accommodative lag. Now, this guy is what we would put in the category of a progressive myope. Now here we would request, we would change the glasses as per the cycloplegic refraction. And here I would seriously consider starting him on dilute atropine as a treatment modality once at night for a period of 2 years. Again, lifestyle advice would follow, but here I would observe this patient 3 monthly. This is patient D, where 8 years girl. She's been on atropine since 1 year, already on atropine, history of parental myopia, screen time, and still her cycloplegic refraction showed an increase of 0.5 diopters in 6 months' time with a corresponding increase in the axial length. And her BV assessment shows a significant accommodative lag. Now, this is a child whom I would probably call a resistant myope. So this means a child is on glasses, is on atropine, and still doesn't seem to stop progressing. So for such children, we have to explore other options, but I would still not consider stopping atropine. I would probably increase the dosage to twice a day. And of course, lifestyle advice would make a sense, and observe these kids much more faster, like a monthly would be better. So having seen those scenarios, we know that those are kids who come into the myopia clinic. But what about the kids who come in for redness, who come in for CNLDO? I talk about myopia to every patient who walks into the clinic, because prevention is always better. A 6-month-old infant, a 5-month-old infant comes for CNLDO, I talk about outdoors and restriction of gadgets. Now, this is important as a preventive step to talk to all parents about the things, irrespective of the condition they come to us for. And early eye screening in parental myopia, again, is very important. I even start from 2 years of age. I keep telling them come for regular reviews. And always check compliance to glasses, atropine, and contact lens on the follow-up visits. I do add, and it's good to add few value-added services like giving a name for your clinic, setting a particular day so that it's easier to give the advocacy, it's easier to run the slides, the optometrist is ready to receive your patients, and you as such are ready to see only myopia that day. Train your counselor or pediatric optometrist to receive such patients, have engaging patient booklets. I create a WhatsApp group as a support system so that other parents can get to discuss, and I get to kind of put in my views and my tips as and when we want, so that we can share and form a community of myopia parents. And of course, we should always go one step further to do community screening as well.
Welcome to the myopia control.
This is my enthusiastic optometrist who's introducing the team, the department. And this is the logo that we have created for the clinic, and she is my mascot. Kanmani is my mascot for myopia.
Now we are going to see the refraction and the BV clinic of our hospital.
So this is the myopia journal that we hand out to our patients, and we give them all the measurements that have been done here, along with the axial length and a refractive error measurement that is plotted so that they can have a visual information. These are the kind of that we give. It's a community oriented work, so it doesn't stop with only one person. So we have to have community screening, community advocacy, and this is where we sat with the school and changed their policies for recess time and everything. So it's not just the clinic indoors, but we have to explore outdoor avenues of advocacy as well. So this is the screening program, the template that we have to give for community screening program. So at the end of it all, I think to sum it up, I can give all the, whatever the material I have, I'm willing to share it. If you can email a request to me. To conclude, we set a day, we train our staff, we profile, we evaluate, we counsel, we follow up, add value-added services, and do not forget advocacy. But at the end of it all, we have to customize our myopia control, and that's the way forward. Thank you so much for being a part of this IC and for joining in. Thank you to all the panelists as well.